This episode of ETC is brought to you by The Belko Experiment, in theaters March 17th. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another news dump.
A fancy news dump. So this July, we've got Spider-Man Homecoming coming to theaters, marking the first time ever that Spider-Man has had his own movie within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It also marks...
well, it's in partnership.
It's in the universe, though.
Sure, yeah.
It also marks the third incarnation of a big screen Spidey franchise in just 15 years, which is pretty nuts.
Yeah.
There was the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man trilogy that kicked off back in 2002 at Sony Pictures, and the Mark Webb, Andrew Garfield amazing Spider-Man movies that kicked off in 2012, again at Sony, to compete directly against the growing Marvel Cinematic Universe.
If they only had futuristic vision. Anyways, in early 2015, Marvel and Sony announced the huge news that they'd reached an agreement to bring Spider-Man into the MCU while allowing Sony to maintain most of the rights to the character. And in order to give Spider-Man a fresh start that would make sense within the MCU, they rebooted the character yet again, this time with little Tom Holland, obviously playing the role of Spider-Man, and starting with an appearance last year in Captain America: Civil War. We all remember it. It was a great movie.
It was lovely.
Yeah.
But up until that deal between Marvel and Sony was reached, Sony had an existing plan in place to expand the Spider-Man universe further. Not just with a third Amazing Spider-Man movie, but also various spin-offs, such as the villain-focused Sinister Six movie, a female-focused Spider-Man movie literally called Glass Ceiling, and a goddamn Aunt May movie.
Everyone's favorite character.
Yeah, and then of course a Venom movie about the iconic villain Venom.
I will always stand by our plan to release the Uncle Ben movie where he narrowly avoids death at every corner, like Mr. Magoo.
Like Mr. Magoo.
But also, it is important to bring up that the reason that this whole rights issue is a big problem, and the reason that it's been rebooted so many times, is because if they don't do that, they lose the rights. So that's why you see Spider-Man franchises and like Fantastic Four coming back, because they have to use it.
I don't know that that's true of Spider-Man.
It might not be true of Spider-Man.
It's true of Fantastic Four.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, all of that sounded like it was getting scrapped as soon as Marvel came into the picture, but this week came the news that Sony actually still has plans to make a Venom movie, and they've got a release date for it. Of course, release dates, they could disappear.
Meaningless.
Yeah, it's set for October 5th, 2018, which in terms of filmmaking timelines, it's not very far away at all. Initially, it looked like it would be directed by Alex Kurtzman, writer of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and director of the upcoming Mummy reboot, but that's also still unconfirmed, and according to some sources, is simply untrue.
There's even further confusion here, stemming from the rumor that Venom won't actually be a part of the MCU, but rather will be an entirely standalone thing, which seems like it would be a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're unfamiliar with Venom, we actually did get to see him on screen previously in 2007's Spider-Man 3, played by Topher Grace, but that movie was atrocious.
Yeah.
I try not to think about it. Anyway, in the comic side of things, Venom's most known incarnation was Eddie Brock, who becomes Venom when Spider-Man discards his black costume, which came from space and is actually a symbiotic alien being. It's complicated and it's hard to explain.
And even harder to apparently tell on screen. Mm-hmm. There you go. Brock comes into contact with it, and it bonds with him and grants him powers like superhuman strength, speed, agility, reflexes, and the ability to stick to surfaces and shoot webs, similar to Spider-Man's. He's also got a big old mouth and tongue, as you probably know if you've seen the comics. He was initially introduced as a new villain for Spider-Man, but over time became more of an anti-hero character who fights on the side of good using lethal force and extreme violence. Fun for everyone. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting character, but kind of dependent on Spider-Man in order to make sense at all. So we'll have to wait and see if the rumor is true about this being completely separate from the MCU or not, because that sounds like a terrible idea.
What are you doing?
One of my favorite things about the Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man series, is that they set up at the end of 2,
Spider-Man 3.
Here we go.
Everything's
Rhino we've been holding Paul Giamatti back. He's been waiting to come on screen for the whole movie, and you get fucking nothing. How about that?
You get nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, in other news, we reported earlier this week about the news of a new reboot of the Matrix franchise and how baffling all that was, since the original Matrix has aged just fine, and without Keanu Reeves or the Wachowskis returning to the project, what's the fucking point?
I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of confusion going on here, so Zach Penn, the screenwriter behind the project, took to Twitter to try to clear a few things up about just what this new Matrix movie would actually be. He wrote this.
All I can say at this point is no one could or should reboot The Matrix. People who know Animatrix in the comics understand. Can't comment yet except to say the words reboot and remake were from an article. Let's stop responding to inaccurate news.
Fake news.
Fake news. We added that, not him. If I were going to recast Keanu Reeves, I would cast Keanu Reeves. Do I want to see more stories set in the universe of The Matrix? Yes, because it's a brilliant idea that generates great stories. Look at what people are doing with the X-Men universe. Between Logan and Legion and Deadpool, does anyone want them to stop? Not me.
So that's actually pretty reassuring. I mean, we're not getting a remake of the 1999 classic. We're getting new stories set in that world, told from a different perspective and featuring new characters. And the mentions of the Animatrix should make a lot of people feel at ease because that's exactly what that movie was all about. They still have huge shoes to fill here, and it's really hard to see anyone being able to recapture the amount of excitement that the original Matrix generated. But this story is already sounding a lot more optimistic than it did just a few days ago.
Yeah, we were saying it'd be fun to do like any kind of story around that universe, but also, Zach, it took them a very long time to get to Logan and Deadpool through Fox. So if you're looking 15 years ahead, then yeah, maybe. But it's a climb up a mountain. You don't just start at Logan. But I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, let's take a look at some of this week's new trailers, starting with two films that just screened at South by Southwest and earned rave reviews. We talked about this on a live stream Monday. By the way, we do live streams every Monday morning at 11:30, barring any weird situations. So tune into those. But Monday we talked about Baby Driver, and it's the latest film from Edgar Wright, the action comedy visionary behind Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World's End, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Easily one of our favorite filmmakers. Baby Driver looks like it'll have the same blend of kinetic energy and visual comedy that Wright is known for, with the plot focusing around a young man who works as a getaway driver and has some sort of condition that forces him to constantly listen to music, which apparently ends up making all of the chase scenes in the film basically music videos with fast cars. Not complaining.
I'm into it.
It's got a solid cast featuring Kevin Spacey, John Bernthal, John Hamm, and Jamie Foxx. And unfortunately for us normies who didn't catch it at South by, we're gonna have to wait till August to see it in theaters.
God!
But that's good because last August sucked for movies.
Yeah.
And I don't want the same thing to happen this year.
Make August great again.
Yeah, all we had last year was that Swords and Sandals remake. What was it? Ben-Hur?
Yeah.
Something like that.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
Then there's Atomic Blonde, which screened this past week and has been described as a female version of John Wick, which is appropriate because it's directed by David Leitch, co-director of the first John Wick, executive producer of the second one, and director of the upcoming Deadpool 2. So, unsurprisingly, the movie focuses pretty heavily on brutally violent hand-to-hand stunt combat. Charlize Theron stars as an MI6 agent spying in West Berlin in the late 80s who has to go head-to-head with a lot of bad comrades.
Bad comrades.
Did Reagan ever call them bad comrades? I'm going to pretend he did.
Yeah.
This is in the final years of the Cold War. The cast here is pretty great with not just Charlize, but also James McAvoy, John Goodman, Till Schweiger, and Toby Jones. Atomic Blonde comes out in theaters on July 28th, but again, looks like it'll be worth the wait.
Yeah. Make summer movie season great again. Dumping all the good ones in February and March.
I think 2017
so far
already
so good.
is a fucking fantastic movie year, and it looks like it's only going to get better.
By the way, an update to people that are watching the show, I watched Kong Skull Island this week, and I thought it was very, very good. I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. But moving on, there's a new trailer for Free Fire, a movie we first learned about a few months back with the first trailer, but which we are very glad to be reminded of because it comes out next month. Free Fire is about a group of criminals who meet up in a warehouse one night for an arms exchange, but reach some sort of disagreement that leads the two sides into an all-out war. It looks like the entire movie takes place within that warehouse and is going to feature a ton of over-the-top comedic violence. The cast here is also fantastic. Brie Larson, Charlton Copley, Armie Hammer, Cillian Murphy, Jack Rayner, and more. This screened last year at Toronto and again this week at South by Southwest, earning very positive reviews, so we're definitely looking forward to it when it comes out on April 21st. Has it got the weed comedies?
420, baby.
Oh!
420 is a whole month for me.
Yeah, you know how I deal.
Yeah. Or a whole year.
Yeah.
I don't actually smoke weed.
No.
Next up, last week I spoke to Dax Shepard and Michael Pena about their new R-rated comedy, Chips. So let's just jump over to that interview.
Yeah.
Well, you only live once, and now's as good a day as any to get on the back of a Ducati. Tom here says it's his first time riding, so should be interesting. I'll let you guys know.
Your first time, my first time.
Best way to do it.
Here we go.
of these scores meet even the lowest standards. You've had 23 surgeries?
I feel pretty darn good. I'm on a pharmaceutical regimen. That helps a lot.
No, I bet. You can ride a motorcycle, I'll give you that.
Yes, ma'am. Like a motherfucker.
I like you.
Thank you.
You have nice eyes.
Thank you.
I feel like, you know, these movies, they're trying to be funny, but they're not showing tits and dicks and
Right.
what did you call your pubes in this one?
Well, I was wearing a merkin, which is a pubic wig.
That wasn't
Is what we're
real?
talking- well, I wanted to have a little barrier for Michael between his face and my shaft.
That's being really nice.
Your reaction felt very real.
Yeah.
Well,
I thought I wasn't reacting enough. I saw playback. We're like, got it. I'm like, all right, we're in.
Because I'm not sure that I was that grossed out. I'm like, you should watch playback. You're plenty grossed out.
Why chips? I know that you have a huge background in motocross and biking like that, but why
Yeah,
did you
it's
choose
fun.
this as your third project to write and direct?
Because I am always looking for something that can contain motorsports and comedy, you know. And in this case, motorcycles. There's not a lot of known motorcycle properties other than chips, and it had been a long, long time since someone tackled a motorcycle chase movie, and I thought this would be great. And I thought I was kind of someone who had a level of expertise in that department.
So Michael, were you as passionate about motorcycles going into this, or was
I
it
was not,
a
man.
baptism by fire?
That's a
I was
perfect
I was
explanation.
baptism by fire, dude. That's who I was. I rode like for 4 weeks, and then I'm like, I just jumped in, dude. I just jumped into the lion's den. I'm like, let's do this.
Threw him on the bike. Here's 3 pages of dialogue. Let's go.
Yeah,
Highway time.
Exactly. And I even like, but it makes you feel badass, even if you're on the trailer. You know what I mean? You're like,
You're still moving.
Yeah. You can still fall off. I mean, you know,
yeah, I mean, there's
it's a certain element of
There's
risk.
inherent danger.
Yeah.
The beginning of the movie makes it very clear that this movie is not officially sanctioned by the California Highway.
That is true.
yeah, that is exactly correct.
But I imagine you did have to get some assistance from police just in making the movie.
Absolutely. And we met with them a bunch of times. I had meeting after meeting. I kept getting higher up the chain of command until I met with the top person at CHP, and they were very cool. They had a couple of like small script things they were worried about. I changed those for them. They let us film at CHP Central, that kind of iconic station underneath the Cloverfield of the 10 and the 110. And then they can't endorse an R-rated comedy. You know, that's not good for them.
But they
to do.
can wink.
I think it's a little bit of a wink. Yeah.
So
It's a two-way wink. It's back and forth.
They just
It's
eyes
a blank.
closed.
Actually, that's what it is. It's a blank. Yeah.
So what was your favorite part of making this movie? It looked like there was a lot of stunts, a lot of action, a lot of fun
It was all
stuff.
good, man. I mean, I loved it. I'm like, there's some movies where you have fun and some movies where you don't. This one was, we had a great crew, Andrew Panay, Nate, even the stunt coordinators were all good. Like the craft service was fantastic.
Some of the best cuisine we've had.
I'm not gonna lie.
But yeah, we would show up every day. Every day there was either a huge explosion, a really big motorcycle stunt, a car chase, or we got to do something really silly and funny. So it was really, really, as far as the boredom level, was quite low on this movie. We were
Yeah.
never doing the same thing for more than a day or two.
Well, it looks like you guys had a lot of fun. Thanks
We
for
did.
talking to me.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Thank you.
What's your job? Find the 530 cops.
These bikes will never catch those. Motherfucker, shit! Great job. Come on!
No le está compensando por una verga chiquita.
Are you guys talking shit on me?
They just said they like the bikes.
He was pointing at my dick, I feel like, and I heard Bikino, I think is small.
He said you look so buff that you make the bikes look tiny.
Oh. When you get intimate with these gals, is oral expected, like with the butt?
Oh yeah, that's standard, boss.
That's standard. Wow, things have changed.
Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's news dump. Before we go, I do have to recommend going over to the Collider video channel. I did a Schmodown match against the very formidable William Bibiani of Crave. Not going to spoil anything, but I think I talked some of the best shit I've ever talked in my life. So
There you go.
I had that going for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Still waiting on my Scott Mance matchup.
We got a match coming up
I think so.
very
Yeah,
soon.
it's a very intense one.
Yeah.
But anyways, check out all their content over here. We have a brand new episode of Weekly Weird News, and also check out a new episode of Tugs. Check those
Yeah.
out, and we will see you guys next time. You love Bad Comrades? You love Bad Comrades?
Got a lot of bad comrades over here
Yeah.
in East Germany.
All right.